Welcome to Minutes with Lynnis, brought to you by Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond. Embark on this journey with me, Lynnis Mullins, your certified holistic living and wellness expert for women over 40, as we explore tips for an ever-growing mind, body, and spirit in just a few minutes. Hello, wellness women. It's wonderful to be here. Welcome to Lynnis Minutes, and this is a Sharing is Caring segment. And as I've told you before, those Sharing is Caring segments are all about being able to share information that some of you might have or that other people might have about their products and services. And today we're going to be doing a Sharing is Caring segment with Pastor Eduardo, Pastor Charles Eduardo, who's a very good friend of mine. And he is not only a pastor of a church in Olmsted Falls, Ohio, he also does a program called Victorious Living. And boy, is he good at it. Charles thinks that we are the image and likeness of God and that we suffer from identity theft at a deep spiritual and psychological level. And he believes that as we awaken, that there will be a corresponding transformation to our world. And what Charles tries to get his followers to do is to understand that they can be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Charles has a very diverse background. I mean, I know he's been a police officer, he's been a radio personality, and now he is pastor of a church and the guest that we have today on Lynnis Minutes. Pastor Charles Eduardo, welcome to Lynnis Minutes.
It's great to be here with you, Lynnis. I am so honored that you invited me and looking forward to sharing with all of your fans and followers.
Well, thank you. Well, you know, ladies, we say that there's no men that actually belong to the group, but I think that there are a few good men out there that have knowledge that we need to hear. And yesterday I told you about how I've been learning about the really true importance of guarding our words and actions and the things that we say to ourselves, the words that we use. And tell us a little bit about that philosophy, because I know Victorious Living, your program, is all about the words that we use and how they impact our outcomes.
Well, exactly. And part of that goes to my training as a master practitioner with neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro, of course, our mind, linguistic, the languaging, and the programming, because of the way that through our languaging, we end up programming our subconscious or our unconscious mind. Some people refer to it. And there are patterns that are established in our early childhood that we're not even aware of at the subconscious level. And again, we're kind of conditioned into saying certain things about ourselves, and we do name calling with ourselves. You know, we're like, well, I'm guilty too. But first of all, coming to the awareness that we're doing that, and then consciously making the effort to stop doing that and speak affirming words to ourselves. Byron Katie, author, she asks the question, is it true? Okay, so when I catch myself saying, you dummy, you know, is that true? Is that really true? You know,
are you really dumb?
Yeah, exactly. So, and even to the extent of understanding that what we do is not who we are. What we do, you know, we may be behaving a particular way, but even with that, what's driving that behavior? What is the desired outcome of that behavior? I'm doing this particular behavior that maybe looks not so good, but when you understand that that may be to save another person's life or whatever, then it starts to make sense. So looking at things in their context. But ultimately, just being aware, what are the words that you're speaking? What are the, you know, can you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? You know, is that healthy? You know, is that building up? And Lynnis, as you well know, in relationships, one of the things that I personally feel men need to become a little bit more sensitive. You know, sometimes men and women will blow off things and say, oh, well, I'm just being a man or I'm just being a woman. Let's be human beings. Let's be sensitive, caring human beings that happen to be male or female. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And, you know, as I'm listening to you, I really think that in midlife in particular, like no other time in our life, if you haven't learned this a way of being in terms of watching the words that you use and being aware of your subconscious programming, this is the time to do it. Because a lot of times in midlife, especially for women, we have a tendency to beat up on ourselves because after all, you know, we're not exactly the way we were 30 years ago. But we might be feeling the way we might have been feeling 30 years ago. Or when we think of ourselves in our mind's eye, we think of that. Then we look in the mirror and we're like, oh, no, it's not that at all. It's just, who is this person? Who is this imposter?
I understand. I'm missing some things here. You know?
Yeah, you and me with the gray and all the kinds of weird things that are going on. Character lines, those kinds of things. But the reality is that we are still a work in progress. We can still learn new things, and we can also learn the importance of the inner beauty that we all have that shines out, that gets trapped inside when we are saying negative things about ourselves, placing ourselves in negative, unsupportive environments, and not doing what's necessary to unlock, you know, some of the positive messaging that's waiting there for us within our own subconscious. So tell us a little bit about your Victorious Living program. What are the components of the program?
Well, Victorious Living basically is about, and we call it Victorious Living System because it is a system of understanding that everything that we do pretty much comes out of our internal map of reality. And we don't function according to what's out there. We function based on our map of what's out there. So you know what, and I did prepare just for you because you are special. So I'm gonna
thank you.
I'm gonna share this screen with you and your audience here. The everything that enters into the conscious has some effect on it and takes up some kind of residence there. That's pretty much what I was saying a little bit earlier. So I'm gonna, let's see, I wanna scoot ahead to this internal map of reality. First, I wanna, again, I was talking about the conscious mind. That's approximately 12%. And so this is, Victorious Living System is a system of learning how our mind operates in order that we can begin to operate our mind instead of just allowing it to kind of operate on autopilot. And in day-to-day living, and I'm just going to back up to this one, 95% of our behavioral responses are subconscious. They're not really responses, they are reactions, they are programmed reactions. 95% of the average person's behavior is subconscious that just emerges out of our internal maps. So here again, going back to conscious mind, critical mind is partially in the conscious area, partially in the subconscious area of mind. And that critical mind is what is developed between the age, well, from while we are still in utero, in mom's belly before being born, because we know now scientifically that the baby inside mom picks up on mom's emotions. So if the environment that mom is in is not a wholesome, healthy environment, that tends to have effects on the unborn child. And those are evident once the child is born. So critical mind starts development even prior to the child's birth and continues through to about age 7 or 8. And that's where we learn how to get on in the world, what works, what doesn't work, how to survive basically in the environment in which we come. So that being said, that takes us to the whole next phase, and this is a bit complicated, but to walk you through it, right over here, the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, the olfactory, the gustatory, and auditory digital. Now, auditory digital is our self-talk. That's the internal dialogue that goes on. And that starts very young. But, gustatory, of course, is taste. Olfactory is smell. Kinesthetic, feeling, whether that's internal or external feeling. Auditory, of course, is sound, and visual, what we see. Now, that's all the input, and there is internal, external, because we can create in our mind's eye, we can envision things when we fantasize and imagine ourselves doing something. They actually are using that in professional sports training now, where people will just imagine going through the drills and what have you, and that it does have an effect on the firing of neurons and muscles. So understanding these things and how they work, then that puts us in conscious control of some of these things. And this goes back to what we opened the program with. What is our auditory digital, our internal dialogue? What are we saying about ourselves? What are we saying about our situation? So that's the input. And then it goes into this area of filtering, where things are deleted, distorted, or generalized, because in any given moment, Lynnis, we're being bombarded with millions of bits of sensory information. There are things that are going on within our visual range that we don't pick up on, things in our peripheral vision. I know in law enforcement work and military trainings and everything, we get trained to be more aware of peripheral things. But in general, there's all kinds of stuff going on in our peripheral vision that we're just not consciously aware of. There's stuff that comes in and we just delete it. Mm-hmm. There's stuff that comes in that gets distorted. Somebody, for example, somebody looks at you in, as they say, in some kind of way. I don't know what that means, but
I'm feeling some kind of way.
Yeah, right. So but I don't know what that means. And generally the person doesn't quite know what it means, but they just know that they're not liking it.
It's not a good thing.
But the point is that, these are things that sometimes get distorted based on maybe that person really wasn't looking at you, but they were looking in your direction and their mind was on something
else
different. Yeah. So, and then things get generalized. Perfect example of generalization is, as you're approaching a door, if you see a pull kind of a handle on it, you have already generalized to, you don't go up to that door and push it, you grab the handle and pull it, right?
Right.
That's a common form of generalization. And there was a study done where they reversed it. They put the door where the pull handle was, you actually had to push it. And it was amazing to watch the way people reacted, because it was just so contrary to this programmed generalization. So long story short, these are the filters, and those filters come down to meaning frames. What does this mean to me? What are my personal values? What are my beliefs? Again, the languaging, the things that we are saying internally and externally. Our memories play a large part, because we're always making connection with, this is a new experience, but it reminds me of the time when. And so the memories play into that, as well as our attitudes. I would venture to say I perform generally better when I'm in a better attitude, a better frame of mind. I would never admit that I wake up days where I just feel like I'm a curmudgeon, I'm cranky, leave me alone, But our attitude plays a huge role, and strategies. Simple strategies for people. There's going to work the same way every day. They follow the same route. You go to the store, you basically shop in the same way, you follow the same course going into the supermarket. There are, when you buy a car, for example, high I people on the disc profile, which I have used as an evaluative profile, high I people don't care too much about the car's sound system or the comfortability. The main concern is that I look good driving it. So now, there are different strategies.
Now, how does your program go about undoing some of these things that happen in the filter and end in a more positive output in terms of how they're viewing the world and how they're speaking to themselves and how they're also receiving communications? How do you go about helping somebody undo some of those key learnings that they've had?
It starts with the awareness, because one of the principles of neurolinguistic programming is that it is virtually impossible to continue unresourceful behavior with awareness. See, when we're not even aware that we're doing these things. Now, that being said, with many clients that I've worked with, there is this denial period. Oh, I don't do that. You know, so we don't want to admit.
Give us an example of a behavior we might be doing that is not rooted in something positive, that we're not even aware that we're doing it.
Well, the whole thing of a natural thing that we do often is we make concessions for, or shall I just say, we make excuses. Oh, well, that's because, you know, and we make a reason for it. And we try to normalize it. Well, it's okay because, and here's one of the things that we hear, oh, well, everybody does that. Do they?
Right. And well, I know I've had some sessions with you with this, and I know that you'll stop me in the middle of whatever I'm saying, and you'll, you know, kind of raise that question. Is that really true?
Yeah. Right.
Is that how you really feel? And one example was, you know, I have a tendency of my negative self-talk to be about things about who I am or what I am, you know, and usually when I'm going through this thing with the attitude, when I'm in this kind of vein, everything is not right, you know, and everything that happens that's bad is my fault. And in one of the sessions, you stopped me several times as I was, you know, falling into that behavior and not even realizing that I was doing it. And it's only been a few months that you and I have been working together on this. And I have to say that I do catch myself now. And you're right. Once you are aware, you know, once you have the knowledge that you're doing this, you're right. You stop yourself and you don't do it. I had another key breakthrough in terms of being made aware. There's a word that I was using that is a word that, you know, I didn't consider negative. In fact, I thought I was using the word to describe something positive, and that had to do with blocks and unblocking. And I was talking about the fact that sometimes I felt like I had emotional blocks when it comes to generating money. And I've been working on that. And I was told, you said, you know, instead of calling it blocks, because in that you want to unblock something, that's kind of negative. You might want to change it around and say you want to clear a space for something. Once I, you know, was made aware of that, I started thinking about that and started clearing spaces for a lot of things. And as I've told my ladies in the Wellness Woman group, it's amazing. This was only 3 days ago. And my life has changed exponentially in less than 3 days as a result of making one change of a word. One change of a word. Can it be that impactful when you're working with people using the techniques that you use?
Oh, it's amazing. You know, sometimes, and I've said it even, that, and it's true, that sometimes you need time, because we didn't become who we are today that didn't just happen overnight. It's been years that we have been set into these patterns. But the reality is, when the change comes, when does it happen? It happens now.
Instantaneous, right now.
Exactly. So on the one hand, when we look from the standpoint of time, which is a mental construct, it can take maybe a series of experiences before it really clicks in. But when it happens, it's instantaneous. Sometimes people are more ready for that change than they were even aware. There are things that will happen, again, at the subconscious level, things that have been prepping us. And ultimately, everything is energy. Thoughts are concentrated consciousness energy.
Wow.
So as we change that, and as we adjust and correspond to the universe, and correspond to how God, or as I sometimes refer to God, Gus, God, universe, spirit, as we correspond to the Creator's pattern, things will appear magical in the way that they just start to happen.
Things just kind of start to open up. And then our outcomes, as you mentioned, once you begin to make those changes and you take a look at your map, your outcomes, how you experience life, that begins to change. Your behavior begins to change.
Absolutely.
Emotional wellness begins to change. How you relate to others begins to change. How they relate to you begins to change. How you allow certain things to impact you, that begins to change as well, because your awareness has been raised. It's the same old adage, knowledge is power. When you know better, hopefully, when you know better, you do better.
Right. And here again, being aware of, okay, wait a minute, I'm making an excuse, you know, and as you've heard me say, I love the Dr. Phil question, you know, when people start going there and trying to, well, you know, and making excuses to cover up for it. And I said, and how's that working for you?
Right, exactly. Exactly the reason why you're here right now today, right? Yeah, right. I've heard you say that before. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. If it's not working, do something different. Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing, the same way, and expecting a different result. Doesn't work.
Doesn't work. You know, that's amazing. Yesterday, as a result of my being able to open up this space, and turning certain things over and creating more space for other stuff, my creativity space is kicking in. And I decided to do something different. I always use these huge, like back there, billboards for my, you know, my goals and objectives and my scripture and all that, my affirmations.
Right.
And I used to have it on the other side of that closet there. But I'm in the process of making some changes, because I've been doing that for 10 years. So I'm making some changes. So I went and got a different kind of board that has a really pretty frame on it from an aesthetic standpoint. And then probably the next time I do a Facebook Live, they'll see the difference. And it's basically, when I look at it now, because now it's got a frame around it, and it looks different, it's aesthetically pleasing, but it also gives me a sense of being more present, more concise, more clear. But it all started out with the idea of creating a space. Instead of using that one word, using the idea of creating a space, just a small incremental change opened up some other things that were within me that need to come out. And I think in midlife, ladies, this is probably one of the main key things, the message I want to send to you, is that within you, all the things you want to accomplish, all the dreams and goals and desires that you have, everything you need to accomplish those goals and to go and to achieve those dreams are already within you. It's just the idea of unlocking that, or what I would like to say is creating a space so that you can receive the blessings, the what it is that the universe has for you. It's already there. You just need the key.
Yes. Open your mind, open your heart. You are worthy. You're created in the image and likeness of God. Yes, open up to all of that, create that space. And I love what you said about, the frame that you're putting around some of the input and the stuff there that you're messaging. So we do that even mentally. How are you framing this circumstance? How are you framing the goals and the outcomes that you have for yourself? What's the framework that's sitting in? So the mental framework is key. And so by you doing that outwardly, that's creating an inward reframing that just makes a beautiful picture.
Yes, it was interesting. The reframing gave me more aha moments, but also I'm receiving the message differently as well. Now, it's not so much that the message, I just redid all my affirmations and all my scripture. It's not that. It's just, it looks a little different because as you begin to change and adopt something, even if it's a small incremental change, many times those small incremental changes lead to even larger changes. Because of course, my next thing is that I'm probably just going to redo this whole darn room. It's going to be totally different. I'm not there yet. But I am in the process of clearing spaces and opening things up for the creativity to come through that's going to lead me to those things that I know that God has promised me they're going to happen in my life. I love the whole idea of victorious living. And I love the idea of women in midlife taking the course or going through counseling like this, because I think sometimes we get stuck because we're so used to doing things a certain way. Exactly. And sometimes you need a navigator. Sometimes our internal GPS is on pause, it's just stuck there. It's buffering. You can't seem to get past that. And I think all of us at some stage in our life, especially in midlife, need a coach, a therapist, a counselor, someone to kind of nudge you a little bit and then awaken you to the other possibilities in your life that you can do, but also awaken to you in terms of the necessity for you to get out of your own way.
Yes. Yep. Get outside the box. And as I shared with you early on, that one of the things that I tell every potential client that they need to understand about working with me, my intent and hope and energy is all toward your highest good, which means that if I'm not cheesing you off, if I'm not pissing you off at some point, I'm really not doing my job, because my job is to challenge your traditional way of thinking, the way you think about yourself, the way you think about your life, your total paradigm needs to be examined and questioned. So it's not about trying to hurt your feelings or point of any kind of a finger of blame, but it's just about inquiry, questioning this framework of thinking and saying, okay, so what can be done different? How do you need to maybe view yourself differently, view your potentiality differently? There's nothing holding you back. There's nothing there really, other than your paradigms, your way of
what we put up there, right? Exactly.
Let's make the heart-head connection and let's go and do this thing, because you are capable and competent. You are amazing. There's never been one like you ever before. There will never be one like you ever again. Don't hold back from me all that God has placed in you. I need that. So come on and share it. Get it out.
Okay. Now, for people who want to find out more about Victorious Living and your counseling sessions and all that, where do they go? How can they find that out?
Okay, well, victoriousliving.com is my website. I am on Facebook. I have a fan page on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm pretty easy to find in that regard. Did I say LinkedIn? Yeah, I'm on all those places.
What I'll do then, I'll put in the comment sections, ladies, his website and his Facebook, so you can take a look at his work and what he's doing. And I just think it's powerful. And I do know that one thing that is really powerful when it comes to living victoriously, ladies, is recognizing where there is room for growth. And then after that's been brought into your awareness, what it is you want to do to grow, actually implement it, do it, actually do
Yeah.
it, even if it's small incremental changes at a time. You know, we talk about this all the time when it comes to being fit, when it comes to changing what you eat. And we've talked about natural hair care, all these different kinds of things that we can do. But sometimes it just takes one small thing that
Yes.
leads you to the other stuff that you know you need to do. One
Yes.
small incremental change. And I challenge you to think about, what is that small incremental change? What is it that you know that you need to do in order to move forward in your life in a fantastic and impactful way? There's Pastor Eduardo's information. Executive corporate coach, motivational, inspirational speaker, victoriousliving.com. And there's the phone number, 866-828-1814. Thank you so much, Pastor Charles Eduardo.
Oh, my distinct pleasure. My distinct pleasure. You are amazing. Continue doing your amazing work, Lynnis. I'm honored to be a part of your journey.
Well, thank you, as I am yours. And thank you, Wellness Women. Real quick note, I had said we're going to be starting intentional challenge. But that's not going to, I'm going to post information about it on Monday, but it doesn't start until the following Monday, because I need to give you time to sign up for the materials, which cost nothing. They're totally free. So I'll start posting things on Monday about the challenge. And then we're going to start the following Monday, which would be the 12th. August 12th, we're going to work on setting intentions for 7 days, our intention setting challenge. I'm so excited about that. Thanks so much for listening to Lynnis Minutes. I love you guys. Oh, we're getting close to 2,000 women. We're one person short. So YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and all the other ones who are listening to the replay, you need to come over to the Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond group and find out what's going on. Find out what other 2,000 other women across the world, all over the world, are doing when it comes to being well in their mind, body, and spirit after 40. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you have something to share, please comment below. For more Wellness Woman videos, be sure to click the subscribe button below and check out my Facebook group, Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond. But most importantly, don't forget to love yourself and educate, encourage, and empower your mind, body, spirit wellness.